Hey guys, so I'm all the way back here in New Jersey with my good friends Vinnie and Kirsti, and you guys are revolutionizing really this vegan movement and showing that healthy eating doesn't have to be as challenging as some people might think.
Yes.
And so I've been lucky enough to spend the week with these guys here, and I've been eating all of their delicious vegan Philly cheesesteaks and vegan breakfasts, and you guys have recently started like a food truck business and have ended a couple festivals, right? And
Yes.
I was curious how you guys got started into that, and like what inspires you to push vegan food out to others.
So like a couple years ago, I hit this plateau in life, in working, being a wage slave to the system, you know, working for a corporation, realizing that, you know, that's not what life's about. You know, so I hit that point. I was like, all right, well, I need to find out how I can work for myself, be my own boss. You know, I've always had a passion for cooking, so I was like, at the time, I was like, all right, well, I want to open a brick and mortar restaurant. And then in more meditations and thinking upon things, I was like, all right, well, I can start with a food truck before the brick and mortar comes, because I don't want to take a loan out. I want to pay for everything with cash, so it takes a lot of money to do these things. So I was like, if we can do a food truck to start and make money that way. So that was a couple years ago. The idea was planted in my mind, and then over the last few years of just following that path, knowing that it's coming when it's meant to come, speaking it into existence, you know, the whole law of attraction type of thing.
So how did you guys get into being vegan in the first place? Because I know you both weren't raised vegan. What was that switch for you?
Not at all. My switch really was influence of people around me and listening to my body more or less, understanding that I could do more for myself, which in turn leads to doing more for other people. Once you get to that certain level within yourself, you pretty much you impact people on positive influence. So
was there certain information that you saw or you heard that made you be like, maybe I shouldn't be eating meat or so many animal products like we have been?
The first thing I came across along my journey of health is GMOs. And then once I learned about GMOs, it really overflowed into our entire food system in America. Ultimately, that ties right into the slaughterhouses and the meat system in America, and it's all connected. And there's nothing healthy about our food system and the way they operate in this country in particular. So along that path, it's like, all right, first it was GMOs for me. I've started bettering my health little by little, and then you hit at every level you hit a plateau. So it's like, all right, what do I got to do to level up next? And in my journey, veganism was the next level. So I started learning about the unhealthy ways of animal consumption, and that ultimately leads into the compassionate as well. And then that's pretty much along my journey. So it's like, boom, I was like, all right, health. All right, well, what can I do now to up my health more? Boom, stop consuming animal products.
Yes. So what have been the benefits you guys have personally noticed from not eating animal products anymore?
My digestive system.
Yeah.
I don't have any problems with crampiness after I eat or movements, anything along that line. And then with that, you feel better once you're actually eating your food, because you don't get that in the middle of your meal, like gut-wrenching, oh, this is settling heavy. I haven't had that happen.
Yeah, let food be thy medicine.
Yeah.
It's the famous quote, and it's true. You eat live, living, nutrient-dense food.
Right.
Plant-based foods. You're not eating dead carcass,
Yes.
per se, and your energy levels are through the roof. You wake up every day feeling alert, feeling alive. You wake up every day I wake up every day with a smile, like, man, I'm ready to get up and go, and I get up early, and I'm good all day. I'm fueled all day long.
Yeah. And a lot of people kind of like are turned off by veganism because they think it's just eating salads and fruit and vegetables, and that's what I love what you guys are doing, because this whole week it's like, it's kind of been kind of weird. These plant-based meats, they taste literally just like meat, and you're like, it's amazing. So I want to know, like, what do you have to share to people about the like food options that we do have? What do you want to share about veganism that people might not know or understand about what we can eat?
As far as food options go, you have to know that you can eat anything that you enjoyed before.
Yes.
The food is flavor and texture. That's all it is. So if you can flavor something and make it texture-like to what you're used to eating, you're gonna love it. Yeah, the texture may be slightly a little bit different,
Right.
but you're aware of that already, and you're like, you know what? This is still satisfying the cravings that I used to have of what I used to like.
Right.
So the whole argument of like, oh, vegans, why do they make meat-like products when they don't want to eat meat? It's not the fact of eating meat. It's the fact that flavor and texture is what we're so used to eating all our lives.
True.
It's the mindset.
Yeah, and you can do it. Anything vegan, there's so many options out there. I'm not just going out in my backyard and digging up dirt and chomping on worms, like not even worms.
Right.
Possibility is there, and it's so easily obtained.
And what's the response been since you guys have gone out to a few festivals already? What have people thought of these vegan sandwiches you're handing out and the meals you're serving?
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's all heart warmth, compliments, amazement. People like you say that the possibility is there, and people realize that, and they're like, this is so good.
We've fed so many non-vegans.
Yeah.
And they come back after they eat, and they're like, they'll say, I admit, I was skeptical. That's the word they always use. I was so skeptical. But they're like, man, this is so great. I could eat this all the time.
Yes.
So that right there, feeding a non-vegan something that's obviously vegan and satisfying them is success.
And everybody comes back and they feel good after they eat.
Yeah.
Like they're sustained within a higher energy. They feel they're not drugged down by what they're eating, and they're good sized sandwiches. Like you're getting good portions.
Yeah, you're getting a cheesesteak without all the grease and slop.
Right. I know, it's good energy off of it. Is there still protein in these sandwiches, though?
Absolutely. There's more protein in plants than people are ignorantly, admitting to.
Yeah,
There's so much protein in all plants. It's ridiculous. The whole protein argument is just another propaganda against something good.
And we were kind of talking earlier, like, a lot of people argue, well, if we stopped eating meat, what would we do with all of the animals? And you brought up a good point that, like, we're breeding so many to have this...
keep up with our wants.
Right.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't necessarily be that amount of animals.
It's a supply and demand chain. It's still business at the end of the day to the people who are manufacturing and putting this out. Instinctively, animals, you would not have this mass amount of animals if we were going by natural law. They're there because the supply and demand chain is there for them. At the end of the day, it is a manufacturing business, so you need to keep the reproduction of that up so that you always have stock, so to say.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the people, like, what's your, let me word this right, what made you go vegan instead of versus vegetarian? Like, why not eat any animal products?
I went vegetarian at first.
Right.
So it was a process, and every human goes through their own process, through their own time period of evolving. And I was vegetarian at first because I did love eggs.
Yeah.
I continued to eat eggs. I easily cut out milk, and I did continue to eat a little bit of cheese.
Yeah.
So I was still attached to that. And I continued to do it. I would drink 2 raw eggs in the morning with my smoothie. I just still did it because that's what I did.
Right.
So I knew that I was going to cut it out. But I was like, okay, I'm going to do this on my own time so I don't force myself out of it. And then a week later, like, oh man, I'm craving an egg.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I'm going to slowly, consciously, and mindfully slowly cut back on this. And that's what I did. So I went vegetarian at first. I knew I was going to eventually go full vegan, and my full vegan friends still supported me because they knew where I was going.
Right.
But they were like, all right, well, you're going to get there when you're meant to get there. And that's exactly what happened.
And going full vegan is because, like, still taking, like, milk from animals and stuff, that's still really not a very natural thing, right? Because we're making them get pregnant to get milk.
Yes, not at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, essentially, if you think about it, I mean, if milk was that great for the body, why do we not breastfeed at 20 and 30 years of age?
Right.
Personally, like we were drinking calf hormones at that point, meant for calves. I went straight vegan at first, and it was a shock, but it was just something that, like, I knew needed to happen.
So what do you guys do for when you still crave ice cream or have those old cravings for things? What are some...
Vegan ice cream.
Yeah.
Make it.
Yeah.
The option is there for everything.
Yes.
Literally the option, it's what she said.
Okay.
Everything.
It's ridiculous.
Yep.
So The other thing, I know too, you're not just trying to make people eat healthier, but you're also wanting to build community. And what inspires you guys to want to build community, and where do you see this food truck business evolving into, towards supporting community and healthier living?
I would have to say providing people a sense of self-worth. You essentially, the whole point of self-love is just that, to understand the love within yourself and what you can provide for yourself. And once you get to that point, you not only provide for yourself, but you provide for the people around you. And community is a large part of that. I know, like on my journey, my experience, I was fairly balanced, I was fairly healthy, but until I actually experienced a sense of true community, not just neighborhoods and people that you're around, but true community, people who look out for each other and want nothing but the best for another that they're with, was when I actually realized that it's an overall compassion deal package that you're dealing with. So, you know, like, we're all sentient beings here on this planet. We all share this community that we live in. Self-love is just more or less bringing that to people's eyes and to their mind and realizing how possible it truly is.
And that's what community is, common unity.
Oh.
That's what it is. So we all have something in common, and we unite together. And we don't have things in common with the elite that control this world. We, the people that are here on this level, out here in these neighborhoods and these communities living, we can come together and create our own system to live in. We have a common unity. And that's what we're doing. We're detaching from the patriarchy. We're detaching from the ridiculous control system that we live in as a society. And that's where I woke up with being a wage slave, working at my job that I work at. I'm like, man, this is stupid. It's the 40-hour scam. You know, and taxation is theft. So like, why continue to make other people rich that are living on, you know, somewhere way far away from us, because they don't have anything in common with us.
They live off of us, you know, like we essentially do not need to depend on them. We're made to think that we need to depend on that, but essentially they are depending on us to keep them afloat. And that's really what we want to break down, is realizing that, hey, you can grow all of this stuff in your backyard. You're going to have a surplus. You can help out your neighbor and your fellow friend along in the process. And not only that, you feel good about that. And once you do that, like, you personally raise your vibration levels.
Totally. And do you feel that if we're eating healthier and we're eating in alignment, we're not eating these GMOs, we're not eating these factory farm animals, that we're not going to be as easily mind controlled or in our personal
It's scientific fact.
Yes.
Your gut is your first brain. You clean your gut, you clean your mind. It's fact. The mind feeds off of the gut.
So what about, like, earlier too, you're saying, like, a lot of people are like, oh, I do need to eat meat, or I have to eat fish and stuff. What would you like to say about that?
Well, it's basically cut and dry. You know, I've experienced people that use that as an excuse to continue to eat, and you know, energetically I can feel that within them when they say it. And then there's also people that do have health problems that their doctors may have diagnosed them something as far as specific meats that they need to consume, but ultimately we are our own healers. So if they are diagnosed with whatever that they need to consume an animal product at the time being, they need to know that they can also detach from that over time. So it's the whole detox thing, and slowly cut back little by little. Like I was saying, with, like, it's like smoking cigarettes, you know. To get away from cigarettes, some people need to cut back the nicotine little by little by little. Next thing you know, they're not addicted to cigarettes anymore. It's the same thing with if these people are eating animal products. They can slowly cut it back to the point where they've healed themselves, and as they're cutting it back, they're also consuming more plant-based products to heal themselves quicker. And then they can easily detach as well.
Now, this is something that I personally believe, you know, we are going through an ascension process, and not having to harm animals or, you know, anything to sustain ourselves is part of this new paradigm that we're entering. So a lot of people talk like, well, the Native Americans ate meat and they ate the whole thing and all that. Do you guys feel that we're kind of, that's still part of, like, the old paradigm, and that we're not needing to have to hunt and all that to sustain ourselves anymore?
And that's exactly what you said. There's a balance there with survival. Okay, the earth goes through phases. The earth goes through cycles. We live in all different places on the planet, and at some point of ice age may come along, and plants may not be able to grow. So being a human, survival has to come, and I'm sure in our past in indigenous times there was a point of survival
Yeah.
where people were like, all right, well, we need to figure something out to survive. And in my intuition, I feel like at some point we probably tried eating each other. And it's like, oh, well, I start eating my friend, and then it's like, I can talk to you, and you don't like what I'm doing to you right now by cutting you up. So I feel bad about that, right? But I can't speak to this animal, so it's easier for me to kill it and consume it. So that's probably, maybe in my intuition is what I feel, as far as like maybe that's where it started, as far as eating animals. It's obviously a survival thing, and then I'm sure we went through a phase of eating each other, and we're like, man, this is wrong.
Right.
Well, we can't talk to the animals, so we're like, it's that much easier to kill them and eat them.
And plants are essentially rooted. They've always been a base root of consumption, even for ancient indigenous tribes. Everything from the health aspect to medicinal aspects. Like plants have always been a majority of the human diet.
Yeah.
So it definitely comes down to survival. It definitely comes down to a time situation. I think that we've progressed.
We live right now, point blank, is we live in an era where you don't have to consume meat.
Right.
Exactly.
Point blank, period. You do not have to eat animal products in this lifetime. So people that do choose to still eat them, that's for their own luxury, because they're not eating them raw. They're not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's an argument there of like, oh, well, we have to cook it, we have to season it, we have to flavor it, we have to marinate it.
Yeah.
No, try.
Like, you're not eating a raw animal. You're not going out and killing an animal and eating that animal.
Eating its leg while it's suffering and looking at you.
You know, like, you have to.
You're gonna get sick.
Condition and cook that meat to a palate that you are.
It's a luxury.
That can choke down, more or less, you know, and that's essentially it.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. And so you guys, how many years have you been vegan now?
I celebrated my 1 year like 2 days ago.
Cool.
It's been about 2.5 for me.
Okay, so health-wise, like just plenty of energy, haven't been sick.
Oh no.
Amazing. And as far as health goes, it also ties into love as well. So that's the name of our food truck / business / possible healing center in the future, is self-love. Point blank, period. Self-love is the name, and we carry that. The first ingredient in everything that we make is love.
Okay.
And that's because we have self-love.
Yeah.
And along your journey of becoming vegan or health or whatever you want to call it, there's different balances in understanding your self-worth and your self-love. And yeah, if you're not vegan yet, you can still love yourself, but there's levels to loving yourself. And once you go vegan, you understand that animals are also sentient beings, and they have feelings, and they care, and they know that they're about to die when you're going to kill them. You detach from that, and you develop more self-love for yourself. And also, ultimately, you know, we use the word compassion. It's like you become way more compassionate. And in my opinion, the word compassion stands for the compass to guide your ions within your body.
Yeah.
So you spell that out. It's like, okay, well, once you know what compassion is, now your compass is being guided in the right direction.
So if anybody's wanting to switch to being vegan now, do you have any tips for them starting to do that, or how they should plan their meals?
Mentally prep yourself. You have to be within a state where you're comfortable with not just your body, but it's a mind, body, soul. It's an overall balance. So it's not something that you need to beat yourself up over if you don't get it right away. If you have the mindset to do it, then go with what it is that you're comfortable with at that time.
Right.
And then any tips along the way is find mentors. Like, that's the best thing that I've did with myself, is having people along my journey that didn't knock me for doing something right away, even though I did go a full switch. It was hard. It was more or less hard finding substitutes for what I needed, like nutrient wise. But being able to find people, that support system is extremely important. There's a lot of groups online. There's a lot of like vegan societies.
Have a website, right? Power Through People.
We have all kinds of social networking at this time. You know, our Instagram, we have our Facebook pages, we have Twitter, we have a website that I use for my music at this time, which is ptpishere.com. We have our email address, which is selflovevegan@gmail.com. You can email us there to keep in contact with us, or for any support or questions.
Yeah, we're always
if people need ideas or
anything
help
and everything,
at all, they can reach out to you guys.
Absolutely, we're totally reachable.
Cool. Yes.
And just know, like, on your journey of veganism, if you're willing to go to that, don't beat yourself up in the beginning of your journey. Obviously, you're gonna you're gonna relapse per se. You know, there's a possibility that can happen. Don't mentally construct those views in your mind of beating yourself up, because ultimately that lowers your vibrations as well. Accept that you relapsed. Understand you wanted to taste that piece of pizza one more time.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Instead of beating yourself up, like you said, no matter what you're eating in life, I think it's really important to tell yourself, this is the most loving thing I can give myself. And the more you tell yourself that, your body will naturally shift to realizing, oh, this really didn't make me feel that good, or this isn't really the best thing I could give myself, and I'll make better choices.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you guys want to share?
All I can say is, like, just, you know, follow our journey. You know, connect with us online. Like, it's the best way to stay connected with us is through social networking these days. It's a great tool to use to stay connected with people around the world. Please walk with us along our journey, because we are documenting everything we do to help inspire you every day.
This is a new experience for us just as much as it is everybody else. So
Cool.
to be able to share that with anybody who's willing to receive it is a huge gift. Yeah.
We can heal the world, but first we have to heal ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. And I too, just plug in real quick since we're on the same subject, I have a new book out called Diary of a Starseed, which is my shift into veganism as well. So if you'd like to check that out, go to starseedstory.com. And I just really want to thank you guys for this wonderful week we had with you and talking, and I really know that we're going to reach people on a good level. So
Yes. Dream community. One
Yeah.
person at a time.
I love it.
all right.